So next up we have our honorable guest. Next up we have our honorable guest, who is well known to us. Again, always, most of the time he is with us, comes to our programs and everything. We have none other than Honorable John McKay, MP, Federal Member of Parliament for Scarborough-Gilwood. A long-serving Member of the Parliament, John was the first elected as the Member of Parliament for Scarborough East in 1997. Currently, he is the Member of Parliament for Scarborough-Gilwood, serving his 6th term in the House of Commons. John is a lifelong resident of Scarborough. After a distinguished law career, he entered Parliament in 1997. John is a strong advocate of environment and conservation-related issues. Also a champion of numerous private member bills in the Federal Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable John McKay.
Thank you very much, and happy Muharram. I'm very pleased to be here. Mind you, after this week, I'm quite pleased to be anywhere. This was quite a week, and for those of us who experienced the events on Wednesday, it was quite an experience. I'll just go through very briefly my experience. Wednesday morning is caucus morning on the Hill, and I was literally entering into our caucus, which is on the ground floor, and literally taking off my coat when I heard pop, 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 pop. And I thought it was construction noises, because there's a lot of construction going on Parliament Hill. And then I was quickly disabused of that notion when the security people came rushing towards us and said, out, 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 everybody out. And so we stood outside the Parliament buildings, not really knowing what was going on inside the Parliament buildings, when someone suggested to us that there's some shooting going on, and if you were smart, you should take some provisions behind a monument over there so that you have some protection. Anyways, ultimately, we skirted the perimeter of Parliament Hill and ended up on Wellington Street, and at that point realized the enormity of the event that happened to our democracy on Wednesday. By fluke and circumstance more than anything else, I was one of the few members of Parliament that was actually on the outside and not in a lockdown, either a lockdown in their offices or in the caucus rooms. And so the media sort of came to me, and it was an interesting experience over a day and a half to watch media from around the world and how they approached this issue. And I particularly was amused, if you will, by Fox Media in the United States. And they wanted me to conclude that this was an act of jihadism. And I said to the interviewer, well, it would be helpful if we got our facts ahead of our conclusions. That doesn't seem to have impacted Fox in its general way of approaching things. And so when the questioner seemed to be a little nonplussed by actually getting facts ahead of conclusions, I said, well, let me understand this. The shooter was a person who had a mental illness, was a drug addict, was living in a homeless shelter, was known to the police, has a criminal record, and he committed a criminal act. That seems to me a long way from quote-unquote jihadism. And you could see the blame game starting to develop in Fox News and other media. And I said to them, Well, that's sort of like blaming Christians for Ku Klux Klan. It's the same concept. Or blaming Christians for Nazi skinheads. And I think, and I want to reference that very excellent talk about building bridges. I think that's where we are as a community, both Muslim and non-Muslim community together. Building those bridges will prevent us from making the mistakes of connecting random acts of violence to some perverted notion of Islam or any other religion whatsoever. So as we celebrate this Happy New Year, and as I recognize my colleague Selma Zahed, who has put her name forward and is a candidate in Scarborough Centre and will build bridges and will participate in the upcoming federal election, I'm looking forward to those bridges continuing to be built, to continue to be strengthened, that we in Canada arrive at a really mature notion of pluralism and not rush off the crazy cliff that others would like us to do. So thank you for this opportunity. I wish you a Happy New Year, and thank you for this opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable John McKay, John, for coming here with your busy schedule. We know that you are very busy going around, and we saw your interviews on TV. And yes, we are very greatly happy, and we appreciate your views. We do truly appreciate your views on Islam and the current situation. And thank you very much. And I call upon President of Masjid Al Jannah, Brother Shiraz Mohideen, to present the gift of the token of appreciation for John.